slightly, that makes sure the guidance hardware is go for flight. The first stage engines will have a similar wiggle, but that's done just seconds before we ignite them. Now at T-minus 1 minute, the flight computers will enter startup mode on the Falcon 9. That will guide the rocket through the rest of the countdown. You'll hear the launch director from SpaceX give a go for launch at T-minus 45 seconds. And then finally, a couple seconds before liftoff, the engines will be ignited. And at T0, the rocket will be released from the hold-down clamps. And at that point, the strong back will then recline the remainder of the way from the rocket, clearing it for liftoff and flight into orbit. On the Dragon side, the team has transferred to internal power. They performed their final checks. Just watching right now, making sure everything is go for launch and the flight that will take us about 3 days to rendezvous with the space station. The Air Force range continues to be go, and the weather continues to look good. So right now, everything looks good for an on-time launch, just under T-minus 3 minutes and counting. Let's share in the last minutes of terminal countdown.
Du coup la fusée va bientôt partir. On va voir ce que ça va donner. Espérons que les boosters se posent normalement du coup ce coup-ci.
Ground gas close out starting.
Voilà, et donc elle va en direction de la station spatiale internationale. Une minute.
Ground gas closeout's complete.
Dragon is in startup. Falcon 9's in startup. Stage 2 preps for flight. Go for launch.
Les conditions en plus sont réunies. Il fait super beau. « 20 secondes. »
Stage 1's at startup pressures.
15 seconds.
15 secondes. 10 secondes.
9, 8, 7,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
2, 1, 0.
Et c'est parti. Toujours parfait du coup le départ.
"35 seconds into flight, we've had a great liftoff from Space Launch Complex 40. Falcon 9 powered under the thrust of 1.7 million
Allez,
pounds.
je vous laisse avec ça.
Coming up on throttle bucket, preparing for maximum dynamic pressure. Propulsion reports that we are on target, throttle down, getting ready to pass through max Q.
vehicle is supersonic and experiencing maximum dynamic pressure.
We're passing through the range where aerodynamic loads are greatest on Dragon Falcon 9. The Merlin engines are now throttling back up. Propulsion reports the first stage systems are nominal. Great views from the cameras here. The blue skies, a nice daylight launch, showing Falcon 9 with Dragon headed downrange. The call out for MVAC engine chill. That means we are now chilling in the LOX turbo pump on the upper stage engine, getting ready for its ignition about 2.5 minutes into flight. Great view looking back from the first stage camera. Cape Canaveral in the background as we head northeast towards the International Space Station orbit. Next major activities coming up in about 25 seconds. We'll have shutdown of the 9 first stage engines. We'll get stage separation and ignition of the second stage to propel Falcon 9 and Dragon into Earth orbit. We also hope to see on the left side the first stage flip around and light 3 engines and to begin the path of coming back to landing zone 1 at Cape Canaveral.
Nico.
Successful stage separation, ignition of the upper stage engine. We've also seen the first stage has done its flip maneuver and the boost back burn has begun. We have lit 3 engines on the first stage. That's reducing the forward velocity and will be bringing it back towards Cape Canaveral. Shutdown of the boost back burn is coming up in about 10 seconds. Second stage continues to look good on power. On the right-hand side, you may have seen an object passing the nozzle of the upper stage engine. That's the Dragon nose cap that's generated at this point in flight. We've heard the call-out shutdown on the boost back burn. First stage has completed the first of 3 planned burns that will result in return to landing zone 1 on Cape Canaveral, just a few miles from where the first stage just lifted off. You can see the grid fins slowly opening. The large titanium fins, we allow them to open slowly. Given the mass of the fins, we don't want them to open too rapidly. Second stage continues to look good. First stage good. T plus 4 minutes into flight.
Étape numéro 2.
As you just heard from John, we had a beautiful clear liftoff of the Falcon 9 from Cape Canaveral. And right now, there's 2 things happening simultaneously. On the left-hand side of your screen, you can see a camera that's on the top of that Falcon 9 first stage, currently pointed down the length of the first stage. You can see the titanium grid fins, and that will be executing its re-entry burn at about T plus 6 minutes and 30 seconds. And then on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see the engine nozzle of that Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage. That is currently accelerating the Dragon spacecraft to match orbit with the International Space Station for its eventual berthing maneuvers.
It's an interesting semantic point that the process of connecting the Dragon to the space station is called berthing with an E. And that's because it is brought to the space station by the Canadarm2, while docking actually refers specifically to 2 spacecraft that can connect without any external assistance. This stems from old shipping days in which ships would come into the harbor and dock themselves under their own power, while larger ships, which aren't able to easily navigate in harbors, are met by tugboats and then berthed. So for the space station, the robotic Canadarm2 is like a tugboat for the Dragon spacecraft.
That Dragon spacecraft will make its way to orbit after it separates from the top of the second stage, coming up later in the mission.
On peut déjà apercevoir la Terre. Ouais, on peut déjà apercevoir la Terre.
First stage coming back down for a landing. Next step up for the first stage is going to be a re-entry burn. That's when it's going to light 3 of its Merlin engines to slow itself down as it hits the denser regions of the atmosphere. You can actually see on the left-hand side of your screen, that is Cape Canaveral and the coastline of Florida.
Pardon.
You can see that first stage is oriented towards Cape Canaveral and currently about to decelerate. That re-entry burn will be happening in 30 seconds. In addition to
Il y a un morceau qui vient de partir du machin là, on a vu. Très bien, donc là nous arrivons un petit peu dans la phase la plus critique pour le booster qui est à gauche, parce que c'est en général à ce moment-là que le booster part en sucette. En général il se met à pivoter et là c'est mort, il coupe la diffusion du coup du booster. Allez, on va voir. Ouais, ça commence à dévier là. Non, c'est bon. Ok. Oh là là, ça tourne. Non, c'est bon, ça se stabilise. Donc là, le booster se met en route afin de freiner sa position normalement. De freiner, pardon, sa vitesse. Oh là.
Landing burn will begin. That's the next phase of landing at T plus 7 minutes and 35 seconds.
Ouais, non, oulala.
We currently have an unbelievable view of Cape Canaveral from the bird's eye view.
Ah, ça commence, c'est chaud là, on sent que le... Aïe. Oh purée, non, c'est mort. Voilà, ça, donc ça c'est... Voilà, donc là le booster va se crasher. Hein. C'est con, il était vachement stable, mais voilà, c'est... Mais en ce moment, c'est pas terrible leur performance là. Hein. Ça fait déjà le 3e lancement que je regarde. Les 2 derniers ont échoué déjà, ou 3. C'est pas terrible.
Right now, stage 2 is currently on a nominal trajectory. This is the primary mission to get that Dragon spacecraft into orbit. Right now you can see that second stage engine is performing nominally with the Merlin vacuum engine glowing red hot.
Alors je suis peut-être en train de me dire que vous aviez de l'écho dans le truc comme j'étais sur les enceintes là. Salut à Baba. Voilà, donc les boosters se sont explosés par terre. Hein. Là ils ont coupé avant mais ça commençait à partir en sucette.
Still waiting on exact word for what happened there. Just a quick reminder, the primary mission today is to bring the Dragon to the International Space Station. Right now, that mission is going spectacularly. All telemetry from stage 2 looks nominal, and it looks like we are approaching...
Voilà, donc là ils sont en train de dire que les paramètres sont nominaux, que la mission d'aujourd'hui du coup c'est de ravitailler la Station Spatiale Internationale. Depuis le Cap Canaveral, en Floride. Oui, ça va, merci. Et toi, Baba? Voilà, donc l'étage numéro 2 a atteint une orbite nominale. Donc normalement, ça s'annonce plutôt bien au niveau de ça. Voilà. And I believe you can actually see some of the science experiments that are in the trunk right there.
It's an exciting capability for the Dragon trunk to be able to store unpressurized cargo and take that up to the International Space Station. It's a very unique capability.
Voilà.
And there it is. You can see the successful separation of that Dragon spacecraft from the top of the second stage. The trunk is open to the bottom. It's an unpressurized spacecraft, and I believe those are the 2 science experiments we're currently going to be mounted on the outside of the International Space Station. But yeah, so the next Dragon still has a long way to go. The next phase of its mission is going to be extending the solar arrays. So you can actually see on your screen there's 2 kind of bumps on the side of that trunk. Those are the folded up solar arrays, and in I believe at 12 minutes and 30 seconds those solar arrays are going to extend and unfurl so that the Dragon can start harvesting solar power and make its way the rest of the way to the International Space Station.
Apparemment, si j'ai bien compris, il y a des choses qui vont se déployer sur les 2 petites encoches, pardon. Ici, pour qu'elles deviennent autonomes, ça va être des panneaux solaires, je pense, ou quelque chose comme ça.
The first one is the Jedi spacecraft, and that's Jedi with a G. It stands for the Global Ecosystem Dynamics Investigation. The JEDI spacecraft will actually measure and create 3D maps of Earth's tropical and temperate forests. These measurements will help scientists determine how much carbon is stored in the world's forests. Also inside Dragon's trunk is the Robotic Refueling Mission 3, known as RRM-3. The investigation will demonstrate technologies to store and transfer liquid methane, a type of cryogenic liquid, in space for the first time. That will help NASA develop capabilities to service and refuel spacecraft in orbit set for long-duration space flights.
And obviously, we here at SpaceX have an interest in long-term duration space flights for our eventual plans to send humans to Mars. So all of this research helps us, and we're excited to help NASA bringing that research up to the International Space Station. Like I was saying earlier, we are currently waiting for the Dragon solar array deploy coming up in about 30 seconds, 30 or 45 seconds. Those solar panels are covered by shrouds on the side, carbon fiber shrouds, and so we might be able to get some video, hopefully, of those shrouds popping off and those solar arrays extending. Shortly after the solar array deploy, we won't see this, but the next step for Dragon is to open its GNC bay door. That stands for Guidance, Navigation, and Control Door. It's sort of like Dragon opening its eyes, exposing its sensors to space so it can find and lock onto the station and make its way the rest of the way towards the ISS's orbit.
Voilà, les panneaux solaires qui se déploient.
Confirmation of Dragon's solar panels deploying from the side of that trunk. This is excellent news. It means that Dragon is now able to power itself all the way the rest of the way to the space station.
Ah, donc pour le reste de la route jusqu'à la station spatiale internationale, elle sera capable du coup de s'alimenter de manière autonome.
Will establish a direct communications link, and then Dragon will slowly approach, pausing at several checkpoints to ensure that everything is still going as expected. Eventually, as Dragon approaches closer and closer, the European Space Agency astronaut Alexander Gerst will reach out and capture the Dragon. Next, ground commands will be sent to Mission Control, or from Mission Control in Houston, for the space station's robotic arm to reach out, rotate, and install it on the bottom of the space station's Harmony module.
Well, 13 and a half minutes since liftoff when that entire rocket was at Cape Canaveral. We had some great views. The weather cooperated today. The ground winds weren't too high. We were able to launch right out the opening of the window. You saw ascent, great stage separation. We did get some great views of the first stage and the grid fins coming back. But as you heard from some of the background noise and comments, the first stage did land in the water. Now the good news is we've got a lot.
Bon, je vous remercie d'avoir regardé ce petit live du coup. Hein. Allez, salut à tous, c'était Rems-Killer. Ciao, ciao.